are.
Greetings.
Morning.
Monday morning.
Happy Monday.
What
Merci.
dude?
Merci.
We speak English in this studio.
That's the only French I know. I'll be honest. It's just an incredibly soft, comfortable sweater, and that's why I got it. Merci's nice.
No, it's not.
Merci. Merci beaucoup.
Actually, you did that pretty well.
Je vous aime, je vous adore, que voulez-vous encore, un ouf dans la bière.
Really?
I probably butchered that. I'll let you all guess what I said.
How we doing?
Good, how are you?
Okay.
How was your weekend?
Good.
Yeah?
Productive as shit. Like I worked my ass off and I feel good about it.
Well, that's good. Did you go out for Valentine's Day?
No.
Why am I not surprised? I heard it was incredibly difficult to get a restaurant.
Brought to you by Big Flower and the jewelry store of your choosing.
Yes. I heard people couldn't get lunch. Apparently, like, Valentine's Day lunch is a huge thing around here. I've heard, I don't know, I didn't go out to lunch, but I heard it was incredibly difficult on Valentine's Day.
Hack of the day, if you profess your love every day, you don't have to, like, try to squeeze it in on one day a year.
I know, but can you also profess your love every day and say, ooh, and here's a day to celebrate love, and
Sure.
that's even more special.
I totally support the commercialization of emotional beings. No
Did you
doubt.
get your wife something for Valentine's Day?
No.
Was she sad?
No, not at all. We have
I bet she was deep down.
We have a great understanding about how we don't overemphasize one day. We try to do it all year long.
So do I, but it's still nice.
Okay. All right.
I mean, we don't go all out. Like even Christmas. It's weird. Do you and your wife give each other Christmas gifts?
Every once in a while. Like if we
Same.
if we know that the other one wants something that they just really can't justify buying themselves, we'll do it, take advantage of it. But not every year.
That's kind of us. I'm like, if we see something throughout the year that either of us really want, we just get it ourselves.
That's right.
So come Christmas, it's really like, we'll spend it on the kids or a really great dinner or something. And
Right.
yeah, I don't really need anything. So.
And President's Day is today, better than Valentine's Day, an actual celebration of people who did really hard things and they pushed against status quo and
kids are off school today.
Established our great country.
Do you agree with kids being off school today?
No.
My kids had a 4-day weekend.
Listen,
4-day
every
weekend.
holiday should be, if you don't go to school, then you spend the entire day relishing the reason for the holiday. You spend it and invest it into like learning about the presidents and what pivotal roles they played in the development of the great country that you are. It's not just an excuse. Like this is the labor movement and how they were like, hey, commercialization and labor. Let's try to invent a bunch of days where we don't have to do anything and feed the apathy of our nation. It's exactly opposite of what the presidents and the founders would have wanted.
Well, speaking of which, I happened to come across a bit of interesting president trivia.
Okay.
Do you want to test your knowledge?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Happy President Trump Day, by the way.
What are you just like stirring? Just stirring that pot right off the bat. All right. No Googling, no grokking.
Okay.
Can't ask
Just
Jeeves.
what I know.
Ask Jeeves. Wow. Okay. Which president served in Congress after his time in office and suffered a fatal stroke on the floor of the House chamber?
Ooh, I don't know. What is this?
Anybody? John Quincy Adams.
Okay. John Quincy
Suffered
Adams.
a fatal stroke on the House chamber. I did not know that. I didn't know any of these. Which president was the first president to be sworn in by his nickname?
Shit,
Which president?
I have no idea.
First president to be sworn in by his nickname.
Listen. Get to real trivia. Listen.
What? Because you don't know it? It's not real?
No. This is shit that you can look up on Google. This is not interacting
really?
with...
Do you know the answer?
No.
So it's
really,
interesting.
No, it's not interesting. It's zero value. It's you will never do anything with that information beyond
I
today.
find it fascinating.
Okay,
and by the way,
go
it
ahead.
was Jimmy Carter. He was sworn in as Jimmy. All right, how about this one? Perhaps due to chronic depression, this president is said to have slept up to 11 hours a day and always took an afternoon nap lasting at least 1 to 2 hours.
Who wrote this freaking trivia set? Like this has got to be the ladies. The ladies would be what
So funny you
what-
don't know the answer, so
what-
you're getting very upset with
very
the
defensive,
questions.
very not
Yes.
upset, defensive.
Joe Biden. It was not Joe Biden. That's a good
So
guess.
listen, like what show was he watching? What is his favorite ice cream? What was his dog's name? Like all integral parts of President's Day, I'm sure.
All right, so the answer is Calvin Coolidge.
Okay.
Some political scientists argue that Coolidge's affinity for sleep became more extreme after the death of his son.
All of us are made so much better because of that.
All right, you'll like this one.
Yeah.
Famed inventor Alexander Graham Bell tried to save the life of this president after he was shot by an assassin.
There's only like 4 that have been shot by an assassin.
So it's easier. Alexander Graham Bell tried to save his life after he was shot.
I can't grok it. I'm not coming up with it.
James A. Garfield.
Oh, freaking Garfield. Did you
Yeah.
watch that miniseries, by the way?
No.
Oh, dude. Like, we live in Ohio. Like, Ohio is so rich with presidential history.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to the museum, the Garfield Museum. Do you know the history? Do you know the story of Garfield?
No.
James Garfield's awesome. So he basically was sort of like an afterthought nomination for the Republican Party. And he went to the convention, and he was actually speaking on behalf of another person who was running.
Ah.
And the convention nominated him against his will to be president, and he effing won against the establishment. It was...
Imagine if we did that today.
I'm telling you, what if someone who didn't
Wow.
even want the job got nominated and freaking won president? Garfield's an amazing story. One of my favorites.
Just imagine. Like I feel like that's what like people today are itching for. Like, can that happen? Is there someone that
They
could happen
do it,
with?
but the apparatus of government would never allow it because it's about who's electable, and there's too much sophistication that goes into campaigns, too much money that goes into campaigns. It would never happen in modern era. But your trivia, if you were to be like, what is the one president that was elected and nominated against his will, I would have known that one because I know history that actually has interest and is interesting.
Are you not interested in inventors and innovators?
Yeah,
and
Yeah,
Graham?
but we didn't get into what he invented, right?
Well, Alexander Graham Bell was associated with
Yeah,
him.
Thomas Edison, Alexander, all interests of
Listen,
mine.
this is feeling a little
What
bit
was
like
his
the
ice
kid that
cream
didn't know the
flavor?
answer, and so
What
we
was
got
his
all defensive.
He liked blueberry and vanilla. So interesting.
D. Nice says, who was the first president to work with Epstein?
Who was the first president? Let's see.
Is that a real question, or is
Well, okay, so he
he
worked
also
for
stirring the
Bear
pot?
Stearns in the 80s and into the 90s. And so that would have been either Clinton or Obama. It's probably Clinton. That would be my guess. Are you Googling?
I am
You broke your own effing rules.
first president to work with Epstein?
It's going to be
Based on available records,
Clinton.
Bill Clinton
Yes.
is the first U.S. president to have documented direct interactions with Jeffrey Epstein with ties dating to the early 1990s, shortly after leaving office.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Did you see the 5-page named people in the Epstein files this weekend?
I did not.
Pages of people. This was a Department of Justice middle finger, by the way. This is Joe's interpretation of it. And so Congress basically forced the Department of Justice to release all of the documents they had and a list. So you know what they did?
What?
They took every communication, every document that was in the files, and they put a list together of all of those names parsed, right?
I think somebody sent me a reel about this.
So
I did see part
Elvis
of this.
Presley was on. So if I sent an email that
Yeah.
said, "Hey, Bill Clinton's a lot like Elvis Presley," Elvis Presley's name would appear in this list.
Yeah.
Any mention of any human being that were in any of the files was basically put together in this list. So it's
Okay, it's not what I
absolutely
saw.
meaningless. Meaningless.
I saw somebody shared with me something on Instagram. So again, I don't know what the source is or if it's credible, but it was the email interactions between Epstein and all these people. And it was like who had the most interaction with him, who had the least. It was like the top so many people that interacted the most. And it was all like other country leaders, other wealthy people. Bill Gates was in the list, but it was far more emails sent to him than he sent. So
listen,
do with that whatever you will. But
we are getting so far off script, it's not even funny.
yeah.
So let's just take somebody else, a serial killer, right? Did bad things.
Yeah.
Didn't do bad things all the time. And so if we were doing an investigation into Gacy, right?
Uh-huh.
And we wanted to know everything about Gacy, who had interactions, who served him his coffee, who had meetings with him, who he talked to, who he went to school with. We'd have a list of people who were in the sphere of Gacy, right? Mm-hmm. But you and we don't want to know who served Gacy his coffee. We don't want to know how many conversations he had. We want to know how many people were complicit in a crime, period. And all of this noise basically distracts us from people who had a conversation with Epstein to people who participated in criminal acts with Epstein and people who knew the criminal acts were happening with Epstein. But the more sensationalized this gets, the more normies get involved. They pick a name and they all of a sudden take John Gacy. He got served at Starbucks from a girl named Cynthia, right?
Yeah.
So Cynthia obviously was in part of the murders. And then we get so far off script that we got our torches, we got our pitchforks, we were running around, we want some justice. Department of Justice destroyed any evidence that would implicate or lead to an indictment of anybody that's important. And we're running around with these scraps trying to say Bill Gates and Bill Clinton and Trump and, Jeffries and all of these people are somehow involved.
Yeah.
And we're nowhere near pursuing justice anymore.
You remember way back when this first started to come to light, there were Hollywood celebrities involved. All these different celebrities were supposedly going to be named and all these people involved. And then the celebrities or their representatives or their attorneys were like, hold up. No. You're not dragging these people named through the list because they took a picture at a party or happened to be at the same event, or he was a bazillionaire, socialite, was everywhere. So obviously other wealthy Hollywood socialites would have at some point crossed paths with him. And that's all it was. And how quickly that fizzled down. But there's a handful of big names that were still no, they're still in it. We're still in it with this one. There's got to be a tie there. And it was like you said, how much of it is just they happen to talk to him or they happen to, RFK Jr. came out early on and said, yeah, I was on Epstein's plane one time. I didn't know the guy. I just met him. We were borrowing one of his jets to go to New York or whatever it was. He was on there for 5 minutes and then got off at the next stop or something. He's like, I could tell he was a creeper, but that was my whole interaction with him. That was it. So if his name is in any list, it's of course, everybody at some point would have crossed paths. And we are no closer, I think, to getting down to the nitty-gritty of who crossed paths versus who committed a crime and did something vile. I don't know if we'll ever know.
But that's what happens when the Department of Justice doesn't do its job, right? We use public opinion in order to wade through the evidence, and we do a bad job because we've got a bunch of dumb people who are wading through that advice, and people with, they've got an incentive to take their adversaries and try to cast them in some kind of light. So this is going to be nothing but, you go to the grocery store and you had the Inquirer, and the Inquirer told you everything you need to know. This is today's modern Inquirer. It's speculation. It's salacious. It's fun to happen, but there's no meat to it whatsoever. And all the while, the Department of Justice gets to go off and be inept, not be able to prosecute people who need to be in prison, while we all fight it out on things that absolutely don't matter.
Not be able to or not want to or both.
Not able to. They are not a function. They're okay, so Elliot Ness was on the outside of the process, right? In order to make sure law enforcement that was corrupted, you had to take somebody who was not part of law enforcement in order to go after, right? So Jack Smith would have been my hero in any other settings. The problem was he was controlled by an administration who had one sole objective: not to find truth, right? But to make a prosecution in a very, one vein, one singular priority. And so you can't trust that. If you have an infinite amount of priorities and somebody can instruct you to only take the top 10% of those, they can direct you to ignore all of the other what would be priorities from a taxpayer standpoint. So you have to have an independent counsel that is far removed from the process to look at objective fact, right? And just report on findings, not be beholden to the executive branch. You'll never get good data when an executive branch controls the outcome of what they investigate. And that's why we can have no faith in it, right? Because there's a workload bigger than any administration can ever take on. Mm-hmm. And just by ignoring the bottom 90%, you can make them go away forever by just focusing on the top 10%.
We've talked on here before about the idea of if we are never going to actually get true justice, which most likely we're not.
No, most likely we are not.
We are not.
Period.
Then what can we do to put measures in place to prevent this from ever happening again?
The apparatus of government.
Has any of them ever said anything about that?
The apparatus of government is too large. It has too many influential people, and it has too much money. You scale government down so it is unable to do things, and then you solve the problem. You will not solve the problem with Department of Justice. It's too far-reaching, too many exceptions. Accountability is not even part of the equation. It is a theater game where it is not the same rules that you and I play by.
Yeah.
0%.
Dennis says it all goes back to Seth Rich, WikiLeaks, and the Podesta emails.
Yeah, the original investigation was a complete cluster. And had you had people in there that wanted to find truth, it's almost like this. You have the entire executive branch that are made up of litigators, right? And they follow almost the rule of law, where you have a defense that takes one position and a prosecutor takes the other deal. Neither are looking for truth. They're looking to plead their case, right?
Yeah.
And the executive branch does the exact same thing. If it were that I want to put all facts on the table and just lead to whatever the truth is, that'd be one thing. I would be fine with it. But they do not have that ability. There was a quote, and I don't know if this is even real, that when Trump was pressured to release the Epstein files, he was concerned that his allies would fall victim to the investigation. And if you pick up the throttle and take your foot off the gas pedal, knowing that you would be hampered as the executive branch when you have all these things that you can do, knowing that would be completely obliterated by you doing the truthful right thing. And does Trump have the capacity to be able to weigh those two things appropriately? I don't think he does.
So you're saying he could be looking at a situation that is any and all progress for his administration, for a country, for whatever. The progress, the prosperity.
Yes.
The change in America and its people.
Yes. For the sake of what's right.
For this cause.
So you take our famous example of a biker gang that you put into a cartel environment, and you're basically analyzing the pros and cons. This guy's going to have to shoot some people. He's going to have to take some cocaine. He's going to have to break a lot of laws. But the end result is that we get the cartel and we bring them down. At a certain point, you're like, there's a lot of wrong in this, right? And if somebody comes along and judges that there were, kids that were put in harm's way for the sake of bringing down the regime in Iraq, somebody's got to decide whether or not the kids are fodder and they're allowed to be heard for the sake of bringing down the Iraqi regime. Who gets to win? Taxpayers would say, you don't put kids at harm. But that's exactly what we did. We set up an intelligence apparatus that used kids as the currency to do, international diplomacy and international espionage and international leverage. And along the way, there's got to be somebody who comes in and says, this is not a fair trade. The innocence of human beings are not currency that the government can use in an end to bring down a cartel. No matter how much we want to bring down the cartel, you just don't do certain things in that pursuit. Yeah. And that's what we did. And I know that it will never come to light because there are functions of the Department of Justice that are happening today that are equally, the public would be completely horrified if we knew what they're doing today to those kinds of ends. It's happening today. And if the government has the ability to do it, they will be doing it. It will be kept from you. And, maybe for every Epstein that we know a little bit about, there's 100 things that we never will know about.
Yeah, that's why, I learned a while back that a lot of us watch the news and think we know something. We don't know the half of what happens, what our country does, decisions that are made, how we interact with other countries, how we engage in different things, whether it's a full-out war and the military, whatever. We don't know the half of it.
Right.
Of what our leaders are involved with and what they do.
Would you take a government that was so neutered that it couldn't even do that stuff even if it wanted to? It didn't have NGOs, it didn't have black ops, it didn't have off-books operations and budgets, and it could only write a couple laws and execute those laws. And man, I really wish I could help you out, but I can't because, we're constrained by the law.
Yeah.
Or do you want this overreaching thing that could be corrupted, right? And have all of these abilities that could be kept out of the taxpayers' purview? Do you really trust those operators enough that they're going to do the bidding and not, prosper themselves because of it?
Do we as an American society believe that serious rules and guidelines have not been bent or crossed over to help us?
Yeah.
Do you think war rules and different things that you just don't do have never been done in order to keep our country safe and running? And
yeah. And the justification is the 1% we know about is we spent $1 trillion, right? And 99.99% went to people that hate you and are working against your interests. But I fed a family for an entire year on your taxpayer dollars. That's the selling point, where the minority is that you have to do something that makes people let's spend that $1 trillion again, because that family ate for an entire year. And logical people like me look through and say, time out. Can't we just not spend the money through the $1 trillion organization and just directly do the one thing that everybody can agree in is morally acceptable and doesn't have the ability to be corrupted? And then they're going to say, that's too cumbersome and that's inefficient.
Or I can't get into power to do that without feeding
big
these
government.
others.
This is the cost of having a big government, is they can do things off book.
If I'm the picture of morality and integrity, and you're right, I'm not giving BS money to anybody. I'm just giving it where it needs to go. That's nice, except the people that put me in the power position in order to do that won't put me in that position unless I play.
Right.
I play along.
Yeah, and it's almost like the Minneapolis things, where we gave, on its face, we allow daycares to be federally subsidized, right? So families can go to work and have their kids taken care of, right? We send hundreds of billions of dollars for this to happen. And then Nick Shirley goes out and finds out that these empty shell companies that aren't watching a single kid are taking some of that money. Great intentions. Who would have thought that somebody would take advantage of a subsidy? So then people like me are like, all right, take the subsidy completely away. One argument is, if we can't do it right, don't do it. And the other argument is, there were a couple of families that got to go to work because of this, so let's blast all this money into the inferno, right?
Yeah.
For the sake of the one family that I can cite that was helped by it. And that's the opposition of, yes, there are consequences for federal and state subsidies, and there will be less people helped, but the function of effing government is not a charity. It is a get out of my way and execute and defend the laws that we actually have, protect us against things that we can't, and let people do what people do. Don't create all this dependence that need you in order to survive. Get the hell away from the charity game and just do the simple, bare minimum the federal government is needed to do.
Yeah, and I'll admit, I used to be one of those people that would say like, well, is something being abused? Probably. Is there fraud? Probably. But it's helping this portion of people.
And those people.
I would rather help them while allowing others to get away with being pieces of crap than stop them from being pieces of crap and also take it away from those who need it. And I used to side with that. But then the more I look at it, the more I'm like, but that's so temporary, because eventually, what if you run out of money because of the crap? And now the people who need it lose it, and everybody loses it, and we're screwed, and we've dug ourselves in a hole, and now we can't ever get it back to the people who need it because we allowed so much to be wasted.
Okay, so who can do a better job? Let's just say I cut your taxes by half. So you have an extra, we'll say $2,000 per year that I used to send to government. And now Kelin can decide this $2,000 I'd never had before. It's sitting on a table. I've got $2,000. Now you have someone in your neighborhood that's struggling. Do you think you could spend that $2,000 and help the person down the block from you that's struggling better than the government can?
Probably.
Better?
You're saying it's instead of giving it to them, just give it directly myself?
Yeah, say just national deal where, hey, we're going to give you half your taxes back. I want you to take that half of taxes and I want you to personally go pick people in your neighborhoods to help and be the charity, right?
Yeah.
Really help the charities that help the people with a 99% efficiency rate rather than giving it to the government who does it poorly.
Because I'm there, I see it, I know what's going on, and I know it's going to where it needs to be.
Yeah. So I understand the great intentions of using the apparatus of government to help people, but not at a percentage of like 10% of the money that you send them actually goes to helping a person.
Yeah.
I would trust Kelin with her $2,000 to at least give me better than $200 worth of value by helping a family, and multiply that by 300 million people in this country and all allowing them to go out and help other people. That even if you have people who are like, I got my $2,000, I'm buying a big screen. Cool. At least you bought a big screen and didn't give it to the government that just gave it to people that freaking hate you.
Yeah.
If we're going to have waste, at least let taxpayers do the waste rather than people in government that use it to insulate their prospects.
If it's supposed to go to someone and they waste it, well,
so
it still went to where it was supposed to go.
Yep.
Rather than somebody else wasting what should have gone over here.
And on the deal, like the money that you make is yours. Like you don't have to pay it to anybody. And especially if they don't do a bad job. You wouldn't go to a grocery store, you spend $100 and got $20 worth of food, right? You wouldn't do that because there's competition. And if they do a poor job, you shop elsewhere. Well, government, you get to give it to them. They have an efficiency rate in the single digits. And you're like, oh, you mean I have to give my money to this grocery store? Like it comes right out of my check to go to this grocery store and they get to give me $20 worth of groceries? Like you would revolt if that were the case in the public sector or the private sector.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we've got a bunch of comments. Let's see. Those files are pretty disturbing. Can't even sit down with a cup of coffee to read any of these, but these are files that we're allowed to see. We won't ever get the full story.
Yeah, just take note that Joe told you a while ago that if there is not a negative pressure or a positional force against something, human instincts will take us to a terrible, terrible place. So just know, out of the 100 people that you're around, 99 of them are terrible, and the one that's not is me. That's it.
The one that's not is me.
Did you see Jack Smith's testimony? He was as independent as he could be. On its face, he would be a great operator if he was not controlled by politics. I would love to watch. Like, it's almost like you can see the press poll and you have a Caitlin Collins and she is fierce, right? She asks hard questions. And then say, man, that would be great if she asked hard questions to everyone.
To both
right?
sides.
If there were a Trump pressure and there was a Biden pressure, then she would be a great function because she's a bulldog. Not just a bulldog, sometimes. And that's where Jack Smith, he has the capacity to be a great prosecutor, to really push on status quo. But he was a little subjective on where he applied his pressures, and he was controlled and captured by his side.
I mean, you see that in the press conferences. You see that in the Senate hearings. If they're on your side, They're complimentary. They're both smiling. They're
Japan,
doing
what's
these.
your favorite
Yeah, it's
flavor
like-
of ice cream?
Fox News is going to suck up to this administration, and CNN is going to ask tough questions. And then Senate confirmation hearing, depending on who's in the hot seat, their party is going to be complimentary, and they're going to like tell great stories, and they're not even really going to ask a question.
Yeah, they're marketers.
The opposite side is going to demand these answers, and they're going to get in a fight, and they're going to push what they want to say rather than getting an answer from anyone.
Yeah,
It's so
Jack
ridiculous.
Smith was an employee of the executive branch, and he performed as a great employee for the executive branch under Joe Biden. What's the topic of the day? It's random. You bring anything up, we'll talk about it.
Everything.
Dennis says satanic litigators, allegedly. Oh, and let me point out, because this is my weekly, point out the secularists were freaking wrong. Because here's what you do. You rip religion out and you make it really unpopular. And then you basically get the version of what human nature presents. And so demonic forces are the default. And moral forces are something that has to be worked for and disciplined into. And so to have satanic litigators, I'm going to say, as a kid, when I heard like the devil's going to take over our society in the future, I'm like, big red guy's going to walk out and have a pitchfork. And I'm like, I'll know when I see him. And when it turns out in the real world adult life, there are a billion demons amongst us. A billion. And it's not demonic as in they go to the Church of Satan and they sacrifice goats and they drink human blood, right? They're demonic because that is the default for human beings, is to be demonic. Because they're not trying to be better than what feels good. They are doing what feels good, and it's all self-interest demonic.
Yeah, it's the absence of
Correct.
what is
so
good.
secularists, you are fucking stupid. And yes, I use that word with the capital F. And you lost. It was a bad experiment. And I'm not letting you off the hook. You are fucking terrible. Do you think Epstein really committed suicide? That's up for debate. Like the autopsy, photograph makes me wonder whether or not the dude is still alive. He'd be super valuable if he was still alive.
Well, which do you think is more plausible? Is he's not dead at all and the whole thing was faked, or he is dead but was murdered?
So it's very unlikely that he just went to jail and happenstance made him die, right?
Yeah.
Either he was murdered because of what he knew, or he's being kept alive for what he knew. And I would be appreciative if they faked his death and using him for information, but I don't think that's the case. I think he was just murdered.
I mean, to me, as terrible as it is, it makes more sense that somebody would want to off him. I don't know what they gain by keeping him alive. That's a lot of effort, time, money. You've got to be careful.
The thing is, like, the people who knew what happened are two people, right? They were Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. So having both of those alive to be able to reconstruct everything that happened there and to give up, like if they're giving him a life, right? They're put him in witness protection. He's living somewhere, new identity. Nobody will ever see him again. Then having investigators pick through who was involved would be valuable.
Ooh, even darker, more sinister. He's kept alive so it can continue, and they're just going to get better at hiding it.
Maybe.
Ew, God forbid. God forbid.
I don't trust government enough to know that either of those scenarios aren't off limits. I think it's all, on the runway. Do you think we will not get justice with this administration that solely Trump's Justice Department? Dennis says they did it for power and they'll continue to do it and hold on to it. Yep, we created a power structure where that is the currency, and no one will give it up. Nobody will vote against their interests, and they will be able to take it perpetually till the day that they die. So limited government, libertarian principles, take powers away, slash all kind of funding for every interest that works against taxpayers and the interest of the United States of America.
What does Dennis mean, Kelin, the game is on? What was that about? I don't know. He wrote that a little while ago, and I was like, I don't know what that's in reference to.
Now, if you ever, 9/11 and the conspiracy theories that go along with it, would you be surprised if 9/11 was something that was in-house?
Would I be surprised? Maybe a little bit. Not like, wouldn't be uber surprised, but a little maybe.
Surprised as in...
I would hope that it wouldn't be in-house.
Would you be surprised knowing the characters that represent us would do something to a level that
No.
would be off-putting? It would be outrageous, but you'd be like, oh, that kind of tracks with what their credibility
I would be
states.
upset. I guess I wouldn't be
Surprised.
super surprised.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Me too. Angelina says, share this, and that is true. Share this, like this. MLO Bros, Youngstown Studio, wherever you're viewing this. It's a gravy train for workers and dependents alike. Yes, government's just an apparatus to give money, like stripper money, to every single person. And we're on the outside, Kelin and I. We receive no subsidies from any single person. We are not beholden to anyone. They can't take money away from us. Although over the period of time, I've probably had at least a dozen opportunities to suck on the government tit. And I said, no, every single time, because I knew it would always come with strings, and I never wanted to be obligated to any other human being. You cannot say that. I could point in every direction, and I can name you, just in the 3-block radius, of how many tit suckers are just in downtown Youngstown, right?
Yeah.
And what they have to do and what they have to present in order to stay obligated and receive that sweet, sweet milk of government tit money that is just flowing in every month. And I'm competing against these people who don't ever have to worry about putting good value into the marketplace or doing things the right way. They're my competition, and they're tit suckers across the board.
You may also be able to tell we are also not controlled by the FCC. We literally do whatever we want.
Today. I get that.
That's funny.
How many buildings around Columbus will remove Lex Wexner's name? Implicated very deep in the Epstein files now. There were some resignations last week internationally. There were some parliament and prime ministers that decided to bow out because of how they were felt to be involved in the Epstein thing. And that is notable because this wasn't like in America. America's different than every other country, right? In those countries, the accusation actually matters, right? They don't make these baseless accusations to everybody, so that when there's an accusation, it holds some weight and merit. So if somebody says, you did X, Y, Z, because you can't just do that without being punished if you lie. In America, we can lie, right? Lying is protected by the First Amendment. And so we can make, you're Hitler, you are a Nazi, and it could be a complete lie and fabrication, and I'm just allowed to kind of say it.
Yeah.
So when I say you're on the Epstein list, it's just one of the myriad of things I would say to you to injure you. The public says we injure everybody and say the same things about everybody. You're a racist, Nazi, homophobe. And so since we say it to everybody, you don't resign over things like that. That's just part of, how we talk to each other. I don't like you. You're a freaking Nazi. I don't like you. You're a racist. I don't like you. You're a homophobe. I don't ever actually prove those things. In fact, the Julies of the world right now would say President Trump is a pedophile. What is that based on? Do you have to prove that he's a pedophile? Could it be a baseless accusation or tip that came through an 800 number tip line? Or somebody said it somewhere and you could just repeat it and present it as fact? No, nothing will ever happen to the Julies of the world. They'll never have to say the consequence of saying something that I wasn't entirely sure about means that I have to pay retribution. I have to pay a fee for being wrong about things. We could say wrong things all day and all night. I'm hooked in some freaking
You're stuck.
I'm stuck.
Especially when it's only calling out like one side. Like back when everybody was so mad and accusing Elon Musk of being a Nazi because of the arms salute. And everybody's like, look at his salute. Look what he did. It's a Nazi salute. And other people are like, he was literally just like waving and thanking people. He put his hand over his heart. And
wait, I'm not going to do it because
he
this will
did
be
like
clipped.
that.
BJ will totally pay. So if I wanted to go from a I love you, Kelin, to a wave, what's the transition?
Everybody's like, there's a danger zone. You could go straight up or you could go down, but you can't go at an angle, apparently.
Right, I'm at
Because
my
that's
heart.
danger zone.
Nobody can, like, this could be The
if you want to say I give my heart to you, but
This
you're
is from
using
Star
one
Wars,
arm.
right?
Yeah.
Now, do I have to like relax and do something else, and then I have to wave to you?
Yeah.
Was that Nazi?
But then, like, man, Dami did it. Who else did I see do it? I can't remember who it was. Like, over years, you see all kinds of, whether they were politician, celebrity, public speaker, whoever, that did the exact same motion. They were saying, oh, thank you, and giving it to the crowd. And we're like, wait a minute. Why was it an evil Nazi gesture when he did it, but not when these 8 other people did it? Oh, that's right, because one is pushing a narrative and the other doesn't feed that narrative.
Did you know that you have a golden retriever, right?
Yes.
Did you know Hitler had a golden retriever? You freaking Nazi!
Did he really?
He did.
Yikes. No, it was a TIT sucker, not a COCK sucker.
Teat.
Which my eyebrows, if you saw my eyebrows raised, it's because I really thought you were gonna say that word.
So teat, T-E-A-T. I did go to tit every once in a while.
T-E-E-T.
Is
Teat.
it T-E-E-T or T-E-A-T?
If you're talking about an animal, I think it's teat. They're suckling at the teat of something.
T-E-E-T or T-E-A-T?
I don't know.
All right, teat. We'll just say it's
Teat is what he meant by that. But
Justin
he was
says
fired
when
up.
you have big government as the one responsible for taking care of our neighbors, relationships, and respect suffer, we don't need each other. There's a major fallout when the government takes the place of good Samaritans and good neighbors. It's not just money and numbers, but society. And that was
Yeah.
the secularists. What they wanted to take the power away from the church, right? The church was there to help people, and they want to be like, hey, we're going to compete directly against the church. We don't want these good Samaritans going out there and helping individually, because they'll put all kind of like shameful stipulations on, I don't want you to hurt, and you shouldn't buy heroin, you should buy milk and bread, right? And they'll say those things that hurt. We'll just give you the money, and if you want to convert it to heroin, that's on you.
That's your money.
We'll be the good guy, and you
Yeah.
can still get your heroin by the black market welfare checks, right? I'm on fire today.
Fired up.
They just eat pizza and jerky and wash down with their grape soda. I don't know what that has to do with, but thank you, Dennis. I don't think he did it himself. You're probably right, Angelina. They had a drone go over his island, and someone had a picture of him on a golf cart just last week. I had a friend that went on a cruise, right?
Yeah.
And was in this area. And they got off the cruise and did a fishing expedition. And they paid the charter captain to be able to get off the ship and go on to Epstein Island. And they went up the beach, and there was a little like house, little structure, and he pissed on the outside house. So he can say that he was on Epstein Island and he pissed on the foundation of it. He did that.
Wow.
Multiple $100s to say he could do that.
Just to say he could
Just
do
to
it.
say he pissed on Epstein Island. Yeah.
Is that a good use of money?
I wonder if he's in the Epstein list. He might be.
Well, all these people that are like saying, oh, you know, rumor has it he was spotted here. Rumor has it. I think Julie had a instance last week that somebody who looked like him was spotted. Like, if you were this person and you were in this position and the whole world is tracking this, you wouldn't do something to your face, a little something to not look so recognizable. Like when your face is plastered in front of the world as somebody that is being talked about and despised, would you go on a golf course next to your house? Like, I don't know.
That's the fun of conspiracy theories. You can take them all the way down the rabbit hole and make up theories and follow your curiosities. So that's I guess that's.
I think it's people holding on to hope that he's alive, he'll be caught, and something will come to light.
Paul asked if there was an open casket. I have no idea. Have you seen the video arguing Maxwell is not the woman we have in custody? Oh, great.
No, I've not heard that.
Now we're really getting deep into it. Being both sides are all over the Epstein files, the Dems or reps will never push it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well played, Kelin.
By the time we get to Dennis's comments, we've gone so far that now I don't know what the comments are in reference to. But
he gave you a compliment.
But thank you.
Manuel says, I watched a video just last week about the lore leading up to the Epstein files. Trump was the whistleblower. Michael Jackson was the getaway out of Epstein Island. Voice recordings from Michael Jackson talking about the island. Then, boom, he's dead. Then a few years later, Epstein is dead. Do you remember there were some fringe people? What was the guy from The Patriot? And frick, what's his name? The movie producer, the actor.
From The Patriot?
From Patriot. He did the Jesus Christ movie.
Oh, Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
He was one in a long line that said, hey, Hollywood's demonic. They eat children and drink the blood. And at the time when he said it, none of us knew anything about it. We're like, he's freaking crazy. He's off his rocker.
Yeah.
But we had 3 or 4 people that publicly said that Hollywood and government were these demonic forces, and we blew them off. And now all this happens, and I'm looking back and I'm saying, like, Roseanne Barr, like, you dismissed her super easy, but she said the same thing that Mel said, and she said the same thing that other people said.
Jim Brewer saying that now.
Yeah, and then we're like, oh, maybe there was kind of something to it, and why didn't we listen to them? Because we just cast them into you're crazy. And then we have the Harvey Weinsteins and all the people who did all this stuff were like, they were kind of on mark. Like, they kind of told us what was actually going on. So.
And it's so easy to make them look crazy. Like, I'll be honest, I've started seeing some Jim Brewer content, and I feel like people know Jim Brewer, right? He was a comedian. He did Goat Boy. He always looked like he was high. That was his shtick, is to be the stoner guy. He's got a podcast now. It's called, like, Funny How God Works. And he's really got a lot of, like, religious God, Jesus following content now. And he has talked about demonic Hollywood and the pure evil in Hollywood. And I will admit, as someone that can kind of appreciate his podcast and the uplifting stories he tells, he looks a little crazy. Like, it's so easy to make somebody look crazy. And then that way they could be telling the truth. And someone's like, nut job went off the deep end. And now it's so easy to just discredit. Oh, he's the crazy person. Don't listen to him. And then we just move on.
We're just making this slalom between a free country and all of the costs of having such a free country and a tyranny where you could mop all of this stuff up, but you'd have to give up a lot of your freedoms. Like I had a great discussion this weekend about voting, the SAVE Act, and what would it take to make sure that everybody that could vote got a chance to vote, but we really make it special and making sure that people who shouldn't be voting aren't voting. Well, in a tyrannical government, that would be freaking easy as could be, right? Mm-hmm. But if you live in a government that is free, then you exploit vulnerabilities in that freedom and work against the system. So, for instance, it should be that if you have a driver's license, you go and vote. Because a driver's license, they would want to make sure that you're a resident. Like, that would be an extreme evidence that you are a citizen of the United States. But then you have a couple states that are like, we want to give driver's license to people who aren't, right? Now the driver's license doesn't mean anything. It used to be that citizen equals driver's license. If you were an illegal, you didn't drive because that's a luxury and a benefit of being a citizen of the United States because you're a liability, and this is a benefit of driving our roads that other people paid for. You don't get to drive on roads you didn't pay for, right? But since those states messed with that system, now the driver's license is meaningless. There are people with driver's license that aren't freaking citizens. So now it's like, in order to vote, you got to be a citizen. How do you tell? Now, do you think birth certificates are like the ultimate authority on if you're a citizen of the United States? No. Every person has to be an investigation to figure out if you, like the people who came to this country that were my great-grandfather, I could look at a log that was written in pen, his name and the date he arrived and where he came from and whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So they would have to investigate Joe to see if my lineage said that I'm part of my heritage means that my grandfather wasn't a naturalized or a citizen. He was a naturalized citizen, and I became a citizen because I was born here. So if you want only voters to, qualified voters to vote, what method of identification would be required? Well, the cost right now is what happens when you travel the country. If you go to Italy, they want to know who the F you are, or they're not letting you in.
Yeah.
So we have one method, which is getting a passport, where they do an investigative research on you to make sure that they have enough identity and history on you to say, I know who you are, I know where you're from, I know where your lineage is, you're good, right? And so now, okay, let's do the SAVE Act, and we'll eliminate a bunch of people who are suspect. Maybe 90% of the people are easy to say, yep, you're it, and go vote. But 10% of the people are those asterisks type of deal. So how do you then qualify the ones that should be here that they're too lazy or don't want to go through the process of getting on the books as somebody who could vote? And do we really want those people voting?
You're saying they could, they just haven't got.
Well, yeah, they're qualified. If the stipulations for voting, either you're a legal or a naturalized citizen, all you got to do is have the paperwork that supports that. If you have a person that is in that category but doesn't want to do all the things that that would allow them to vote, is it incumbent on the voter to go get the things so they qualify, or is it incumbent on the state to make it so easy that that person could vote naturally and it will still count? To me, it's a personal responsibility. If you are too stupid, right, or don't have the money, so you're typing on $1,000 iPhone while you claim you can't get a $100 piece of paperwork to be able to vote, that's your priorities. That's not mine. You could sell your phone and I'm so, my ambition is that I want to vote so badly that I'm going to sell my phone to the pawn shop and get enough money to go get my documents so I can go vote, or not. And I'm okay with either way. If you don't want to do all the things and voting is not sacred enough for you to do it, I'm cool with that. Why should some liberal white woman take exception to the fact that Pedro won't vote this time, even though he's qualified, because he was unwilling to do all of the things that would allow him to freaking vote? Why did I pick Pedro? Because I am just a raging
You're
racist.
Such a racist.
So raging racist.
God. Let's see. In her defense, I say a lot about Hillary being a lizard person, and that largely based on a gut feeling.
Yeah, she's a terrible captured political person. I would not Okay, you as a wife. Okay, if you were married to Bill Clinton, the philanderer, would you stay married to him?
Personally, no.
Yeah. So okay, let me give you pros and cons.
Okay.
Great branding. He's still got a great brand that people love him, and he can make an exceptional amount of money. The father of your children, but a desperate philanderer can't keep his dick in his trousers. Which one weighs heavier on you as a wife?
Well, me personally, I don't want to be tied to that.
Even if there's a lot of upside on the money and power side.
But if you're in the game yourself and it's great for your game and your gain,
you'd stay with him if you were in that.
I mean, legally, be like, you go do you, I'll go do me, because we need each other in this.
I'm telling you, he escaped a lot of things that we would argue would be career enders, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he probably would be elected president if he tried right now.
Yeah.
Saw a video recently claiming we don't have the Maxwell. The most compelling argument related to the difference is the captive woman's node in Ghislaine's. And is born perpetually looking stoned, poor guy.
Jim Brewer. Yeah.
Allie said all states manage birth records. Why not make it a national database? There and that Allie, I'm with you here. We have the technology and modeled through 100 different industries that if we wanted to make sure that we provided something, so if Joe wanted to go buy a gun right now, there's a national registry to make sure the reasons that would disqualify me for buying a gun, they can within a day check me on that list and make sure that I'm okay to buy a gun. It exists right now.
Yeah.
A bank, if you had an account somewhere and you wanted to take out a deposit, they have ways of figuring out if you are Kelin and you have enough money, and that way when they give you money, they're not later like, oh, Kelin didn't really have any money and I gave her money, damn to me. Or Betty Smith came, said she was Kelin, and she took money out, and damn, I made another mistake. We have ways, either through blockchain or databasing or AI, to be able to figure out if this... Biometrics. Biometrics are easy. Do you use anything biometrics, by the way?
You know, the things that, like, read your whatever?
No, different biometrics.
Oh.
Same principle. They have locks that you put your thumbprint and it opens your lock, right? You have your phone where it looks at your face and it opens your phone if it sees that you are who you say you are.
I think I do, actually, but I know of those things.
So biometrics.
Yeah.
So if you took really good technology and basically forced everyone to blockchain sort of works on the principle that I agree with. Databasing, I don't trust the database holders, so I don't like databasing. But if we had blockchain, so blockchain pushes things out on your end, right? It is a you versus you type of transaction. People on the other side of the database don't see you. It's completely anonymous. So if I pushed you money rather than, like banking systems, ACH, where you can draw money from my account as long as you have a certain piece of information. I don't trust that because what happens if you do it and you do it again and you do it again?
Yeah.
But if I pushed you money and you had no ability to pull that money on your own because I was anonymous, now the system works. So everybody wanted to vote, submitted their own information into blockchain. My facial recognition, my thumbprint, any other kind of iris scans or whatever. And now you're defending not everybody else. You're making sure nobody votes on your behalf, right? So when I go to the polls, it's not the poll workers not doing the database, the poll workers giving them everything I'm telling them. But in order for me to vote, I have two-factor authentication. When I walk up to that, I can't hit the submit button until I have told myself I am who I am. And I put my thumbprint, and it goes out to my database and says, yep, you're Joe Danier, and it tells the system it was a thumbs up, and now my vote gets submitted. You just have to get 100% of the people to self-incriminate themselves, right? Push themselves into that database so that they are defending against their own identity, not an authority that I don't trust authenticating me. Because we said before, when they do signature confirmations on the voter rolls, that nobody effing looks at that. Nobody is stringent on who signs what because our own signatures are different. Mm-hmm. But when I go up to my lock and I hit my thumbprint, if my thumbprint doesn't match what it has in its database, it doesn't effing care how I feel about it, right? If my hand's cold and it doesn't make it, I love that it turns me away.
I got a cut on my thumb and now it doesn't match up.
Absolutely. Now I have to try harder to make sure that it has a deep enough database on myself so that when I present what it knows, it says, thumbs up, you can get in my house. We understand this on principle, but we create these little exceptions, but what about this person? And what about this person? I don't effing care. If you don't care enough, I don't care enough.
Yeah, like Matthew says, we were talking about different things with voting, and he says, because voting is a right. And it is a right.
Yes, you have the right to vote.
You have the right to vote. If you are a citizen, or do you have the right to vote if you're just here? Like if someone's visiting from another country, they come to visit family for a couple of days, and it happens to be an election year. Can they say, by the way, I'm going to go to your polls today and I'm going to vote? Like, if it says, and I don't know, if it says every person located in the country during an election has the right to vote, fine. But if it says you have the right to vote if you are an American citizen, that's pretty different.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, you have the right to vote has you in underline, right? It doesn't have your stand-in. It doesn't have the fraud person.
No
it
proxy.
Has you. So if you qualify the you part, then I agree with you. You have the right to vote.
Yeah.
So if somebody stands up and says, I am the you, right? Then I have a way of saying that I am the you I present. And there has to be an authority that will agree with that. And that's why I suggest the authority has to be you. When you get prompted by setting up a new account with somewhere, you're a nobody, you're a zero, and it says, You are setting up the account. Let's leave some breadcrumbs that allow me to lead to you every time you come here. What is your password? What is your likeness? What is your details? What is your two-factor authentication? And when the next time, like a month from now, you come to me, I don't believe it's you until you've then provided the breadcrumbs that when you first set things up. So if you create an identity as a you and you don't leave enough breadcrumbs, like, who are you? I don't have a driver's license. I don't have a birth certificate. You're not a you until you become a you.
If Matthew wants to go and vote for Kamala Harris, but Carter got there, said he's Matthew.
He's not
and
you.
And cast a vote for Trump under Matthew's name. Matthew's going to feel some kind of way about that.
I will say that is not you having the right to vote. You have been stolen by Carter. Sorry, Carter. I don't mean to.
Yeah, sorry, Matthew and Carter. I needed two names.
So the you is what's underlined. As soon as we get the it's you, and the you is a qualified voter, then you have rights as far as the eye can see.
Yeah. Let's see.
You're probably against regulating the Second Amendment. I'm the who is where I'm against regulating the Second Amendment. Who's in charge of it? So, for instance, the IRS is a weaponized agency. They went after specific people using their powers to be able to punish people they disagreed with. So I'm not in favor of targeted punishment using an elected, like a government agency. So if we took an agency that regulates firearms, right? If it's a blind agency where all it's doing is saying who the person is and if they meet the qualifications and if they're permitted or denied, I am cool with that. I'm against regulations that give power to agencies that have proven that they do not deserve the regulation. That's why I say, like, the blockchain, the invisible factor, where, in data, the chain of command or the chain of custody on data is that it's on multiple different levels. And if you put the chain of custody on a single level, then when I'm looking at a line on a data table, I can see who, I can see what, I can see why, and I can see where, right? I can't write logic on that because it's already been determined and all of your data has been put on the same column or same row. If I made it blind where I have the you and then I have the what and where and how, completely separate deals, I couldn't make a judgment based on how I felt that day or my partisan belongings or, whatever nefarious, ambitions that I had. A blind deal would be once you satisfy the you are you. This is me. This is my birthday. This is my social security number. This is my thumbprint. This is my genetic markers. This is my iris scans. Now the you has been qualified. The what is a separate thing where I don't have access to the who and I don't have access to the what because it's compromised as soon as you get one entity to be able to make a line item pass or fail, right? Because then it's up to the person, and I don't want a subjective person deciding anything. So I'm against subjective regulations. I am 100% objective regulations. If you were a power-hungry lizard person, you would stay. Dennis is off the rails too. I think I take responsibility for the off the rails. All things off the rails. I don't
understand the lizard. Why is she a lizard?
Lizard people are a conspiracy theory.
That people are like literally lizard people.
Lizard people.
Kind of like aliens.
Yeah,
but,
frogs
but
are
they're
gay.
Lizards.
Lizard people. The birds are drones. Like all of these things are very popular in conspiracy realms, which I do like all of those.
Like I've heard of it. I've heard of the lizard people. I just don't know why it came about to be lizard
what if they're right? Like that's the thing. Like all of these far-fetched conspiracies.
Like they're not like koala people or ant
easily
people.
Dismissed.
They're lizard.
Do you remember the show V?
I remember
hearing
the show V.
No,
I never watched it.
You watched the bad V. The remake of the V. The original 80s V was freaking amazing. They were aliens, right? And they were lizard people, but they skinned themselves as human beings, right? But underneath that mask was freaking lizard people. And they were amazing. It was amazing. Like, I was probably 10 at the time. So it was amazing writing and scripting and theater at the time.
Sounds
By
gross.
today's standards, it's probably not as good as I remember it to be. But the 10-year-old version loved that effing show. So, yes, Clinton is one of the V lizard people. I'm almost certain of it. Julie said, I wanted to be able to fly, so I needed real ID. It took 2 trips to DMV, had to go to 2 courthouses, one out of the state to get the proper docs. If I didn't want to fly, I would have said, screw it. And that's the case.
Yeah.
It is government, so their processes are antiquated, they're arbitrary, and they're stupid. I had the same thing. I flew to Florida a couple weekends ago, and I didn't have I went to the DMV to get my license renewed, and they said, you're going to have to get a real ID if you want to fly. And I'm like, okay, what's required? And they said, do this, do this, do this. I was like, listen, this was during COVID. It was 2001. And I had to make an appointment and stand in a, 50-minute line in order to get in front of that
6
desk.
feet apart from
And I said,
someone.
here's the deal. I don't have all that stuff with me because I do not carry that stuff. And I don't foresee flying in the near future. Just give me the regular one because I don't have all of that stuff. And they gave me the real one. So I went to the airport this last week. I was like, yeah, I did this. I didn't get the real ID. And they're like, oh, just go to the website, right? The TSA website, hit a button, pay your $45, and you're good, right? No investigation, no birth certificates. They give you a 2-week pass to be able to pay your $45 and be able to get on the plane.
So you got on the plane without a real ID?
Yes, I did.
Oh.
Yeah.
Julie's like, you little.
Yes. And so the next time, hopefully technology will advance to the point where these stupid, archaic processes that serve nothing but another revenue stream for government that is actually safer, that confirms identity more, that has real investigation, is more baked into the cake. But right now, government is stupid, and we go through these weird processes, and we have this false sense of security that we're safer because of it.
Why do you have to go to 2 different DMVs in a courthouse out of state? Nah.
No, that
I've never had to do any of that.
When I did it, it was early on. So they wanted a birth certificate, they wanted a utility bill that had your name and address on it, and they need one other thing. And I just didn't have those things with me. But now it's just you go to your DMV, get your license, give them those 3 forms of whatever they're asking for, and they give you a real ID.
Yeah, like when I moved back to Ohio from down south, I just had these documents and I got it. I didn't have to go any other buildings.
And that's where BJ just said you use your passport, because when you apply for a passport, you go through an algorithm that does investigation, make sure that you aren't red flagged, then issues a passport. So that's as good as getting the real ID.
Okay, so I have to fly next week. I just want to be clear. I have my plastic ID card. That's all I need, right?
Your passport?
My ID, my license.
Real ID?
Yeah, like a hard plastic
No, it has
ID.
to have the little seal that it's a real ID.
Yeah. Like some people have like paper or something.
No,
This is a driver's
it's a plastic
license.
ID.
Yeah.
But it will be issued under the real ID standards, and it'll have a little seal that it is a real ID.
Pretty sure it does. I'll show you when we're done. You tell me if it's the right.
Okay.
Because if
When'd you
I
get
need
it?
this.
When'd you get it?
2023?
Yeah. Did you show birth certificate and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
It was when I moved back here and I
Yeah,
needed
because it
an
got
Ohio
easier. My wife
license.
did the same thing, and all they needed from her is her old driver's license and a birth certificate, and she got real ID passed it.
Yeah, I think I had to show like a utility bill or something.
Yeah.
And all right.
Yeah, you're probably good.
Well, I'm good to go.
You can easily do a private party sale for a weapon. Yes, you can. All states also issue marriage licenses as well. These required identification pieces should be free and available through a database upon registering to vote. And that's what I suggested, a window of the next 6 months of just having all identification. All right, take your 80,000 IRS agents that you hired during the Biden administration and put them on identifying people here in the United States. And knowing that 20% of the people just are hard to identify. They're homeless, they're drug addicts, they don't have their shit together, and they're going to be hard to identify. Not exactly the caliber of people that you're going to want to be voting on anything anyway, so you can properly exclude them from the mix. You're not going to try to fight hard to make sure that heroin addict on the street goes out and votes this week, right? You want property owners, you want good decision makers, you want high intellect people to be your focus with those IRS agents, get them all qualified. Women change their name because of marriage, get them requalified, get them in the database the way they need to, then move down to the tiers. Use those people to do investigations where your certainty level above 99% is an easy pass. It's a lightning lane to be able to get you in the database so you can vote. And then keep working those 80,000 IRS agents, give free identifiers to all of the people who qualify but just are too discombobulated to get their shit in order. Work with them, make phone calls and say, hey, we see you're on the voter rolls and you're going to have a hard time voting this time. Let me help you get qualified so that you can actually vote and get those people all in the realm. It's going to take every bit of 6 months, so they need to operate now. And most of those people can afford it. They are just not prioritizing their right to vote as something they need to start working now to make sure they can do it.
And do you think, is there a misconception that it's harder to do than it is?
No, people are just lazy. People are just freaking lazy.
Because when I got married and I had to go and update because I was changing my name, I had to get a new ID, I had to do all these things. I was told, you better have nothing going on that day. It is a full day. It is a lengthy process. Better make sure you have every single document necessary. So I did. My husband and I both took the day off work. We got there bright and early. We're like, all right, patience is with us. We got everything we need. Let's go and start the process. And I'm like, it was bam, bam, bam. Thank you. That's it. That's it. We got everything we need. You should receive your ID. I was like, let's go to lunch. Like, why does everybody think this is hard? And which is why Julie seems to have had a pretty difficult go at it. Like, why?
Is it supposed to be easy though? Like, is that the misconception? Is that everything needs to be easy so even the lazy can get it done?
I'm just saying, I wonder if that's a tactic that someone can use. Like, don't do this. It's too difficult. When really they should be like, it's not that difficult. Go do it. But
it could be, that's built into the kick. So for my birthday is in December, right? And so my registration on my cars expire in December. When there's heavy road salt, dirty cars, and I never put my registration sticker on my license plate in December. I take the registration card, I put it on my dashboard, and I know that if somebody scans my license plate, sees I have an expired sticker, they could pull me over.
Getting
right?
pulled over.
But in my mind, I'm doing myself a service knowing that I didn't buy the registration and then the sticker fell off. Because in my head, I watched the thing fall off, and I'm in the right position anyway. So I always wait till January, till I wash my car after the snow is done falling, and put my sticker on. Now, if I got pulled over on January 7th, right, I would show the registration sticker. The cop would say to me, hey, you should have, I could have given you a ticket because you didn't display a registration. And I'm cool with the cost of my decisions. I made those decisions. I do them for a reason. I do it every single year. Maybe one year it'll catch up to me and I'll get a ticket. And that will be the cost of me making those decisions. I'm responsible for them. It's never happened. But when that happens, what if I got here and said, that asshole cop gave me, I had the sticker in my car, right?
You can't give me that. See, I have it.
You would say, you are just too mentally lazy to go through the process of sticking it on in compliance with the law. And if it happens to fall off, go get another one and sticking that son of a bitch on there when it happens. It's your responsibility to make sure you're compliant with what the rule set is right now. I broke the rules, but guess who's ultimately on the hook if I break the rules? Me. And I won't blame the cop. I won't blame you. I won't blame the system. It's all my decisions from start to finish. So if you get married, right, and you don't know that your name changed and it's not going to match the voter rolls, is that the system's fault? Or is it you decided to get married and you have to take all the different costs that come along with getting married and having a name change? And you're like, my name changed. Let me go through all the things like my credit cards. Oh, it says the old name. Let's get a new one. Oh, my birth certificate says a different name. Let me get an updated one. Let me go to my passport. Hey, my passport, my voter registration. Like, go all through the things that normal human beings know. And if you have a stupid person, right, that waits until those things happen in order to think through them, they are too dumb to vote. That is my point, that if you're too dumb to figure out your own affairs, what makes you think you should be voting in the affairs of other people?
Yeah, and it's how important is it to you? I mean, if you get hacked and someone gets your banking information, you better believe you're getting everything changed. I got to get a new card. I got to change my passwords. I got to blah, blah, blah.
You're a human being that should have capacity to be able to manage your own affairs. And you should not worry about other people's affairs until you have all of your affairs in order. Or at least aware of what your affairs even are. We have too many unaffaired people that are dabbling in the lives of other people and voting on things that aren't them, and they're a shitstorm. They have no business even worrying about other people. I don't care if it's a right or not. Like, if I was a shitstorm and I wanted to buy a gun, the public would be saying, hey, get your shit in order before you're responsible enough to exercise your liberties in owning a gun. And that's what the regulations do, is make sure that shitstorms aren't like, I had a bar fight, I'm really angry, and I'm going to go to the gun store, and I'm going to buy myself a gun because I'm going to get retribution, right?
Yeah.
And then the government's like, slow down, bitch. You're going to wait 2 weeks and see if you still feel the same way. Your right is that you're going to own a gun, but I'm not telling you how quickly you can exercise that right. So maybe it takes you 2 years to be able to become a voter the right way. Cool. If you want it quicker, be better. If you want it slower, take your damn time, go through as things happen, and 4 years from now, you can exercise your right to vote.
Julie says, marriage license, divorce decree, other marriage license. I have been me for a lot of years.
Yes. The old IDs are color. The real IDs are black and white with just the card having the same color. Do a buyback like they do for guns. Find something of value that we can get off the streets and offer the value, the voter registration, on $50 for an Uber to get there. I thought about this weekend when we were having this conversation. Do you undermine the sacredness and the process if you make it easy? Right? If you get too many people who are unwilling or irresponsible, then we like coax them into a process that should be hard intentionally. So for instance, like, if a certification on your wall that said you were a great communicator and you were in that industry, I want you to get a certificate of achievement in communications. And I'm like, well, she's just not doing it. She's not taking the classes and where, but I want her there. I want her to be able, that she should express herself in communications. Let's make it easier. Now, would I want somebody who had to be urged through that system to go get that qualification, or do I want the person that would fight to get that qualification? Which is the better qualification?
Yeah, I mean, we've been seeing some of that when our kids started to get into like sports, for example, and school activities. And we saw the frustration and the fighting and the problems that came out when there was a team or an organization or a squad you could be on that anybody who signs up can do it. Very real environment from the team that had tryouts to be there. Totally different. It's taken seriously. It's harder workers. It's done more efficiently. It's, hey, who just decided I think I'll go do this, and who fought to be there because it's meaningful for them.
But I do understand that if you put a regulation or a mandate that you have to do and you didn't know that you had to do it before, it's up to the government to subsidize this.
Yeah.
So, for instance, if the government costs me money, the government should make me whole because they changed the rules on me.
Yeah.
When I enter, the rules are X, and I willingly go into those rules. If the last 4 elections I voted, and now you make a new requirement that's going to cost me money, I'm going to be there saying, okay, I'll do it. I'm willing to do it, but you pay for it, right? So if we took a small subsidy and made those things free and made it easy to be able to get there so long that you were able to do the rest of the responsibility, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I mean, during COVID, we sent people all kinds of money to stimulate the economy. Why can't we say, hey, voter laws are this now, ID laws are this now, you're required to go get this, no cost to you? To me, makes sense. Why would they say, go get a new ID and you got to spend $50 for it? I'd be like, you're telling me I need a new ID. I never had to have this before. You better give it to me. Like, why did you have to pay? Is it just because you didn't have it at the time and like it was expediting? Or do you have to pay to get this new ID?
You have to, and it costs about $100. So let's just say you're the worst predicament possible. You go to your safe, and there's no birth certificate, there's no ID, you have nothing. Yeah. Now, here's the process. You first then have to get a birth certificate reissued to you, right? So you have to go, I think it's in Oak Hill, they had, I want to say it was the auditor's office, maybe Social Security office, I don't know, so some government agency, and you go there and you say, I need a reissuance of a birth certificate. And they're going to say, okay, you have to provide XYZ to get a reissuance. You have to pay a bunch of money, like $50. You have to wait 4 weeks, and we will mail you another copy of your original birth certificate. Okay? Even worst case, hey, I was born into a house. They didn't bother to get a certificate or they lost it. I don't know if it even exists. I need a birth certificate from square one. Maybe I was born in Uganda, right? Never had a birth certificate. I snuck in here. I'm here. I need a birth certificate. Like, that person is the most complicated, because what do? Do you issue a fictitious birth certificate when you weren't born here? Because if I'm the agency, I'm going to be like, go to Uganda, go to the hospital in the middle of the, wherever you were from, and
Hope
get
it's
them to
still
tell
there.
you. And they're just like, okay, I'm screwed. I have no record of me being born in the first place. What do you do with that, with that scenario? I'm saying that's a you problem, right? I was born here. I went to a hospital. When I was born, they issued a certificate. If you're not that, if you're anything other than that, right? That's on you to figure out the right pathway to get a document that says you were born. Everybody was born. I mean, it's 100% certainty. Where were you born? And then it's like, okay, well, I was born in Uganda and they don't issue birth certificates. Okay, now tell me, I'm one of those IRS agents. I'm sitting in front of you, in front of my desk. And you're like, okay, well, my parents came to this country and my dad just started working and we got someone to rent to us. So I was here. And I'm going to say, okay, did you ever get citizenship? Did you ever get a green card? Did you ever get blessed to be in this country? Well, no, I didn't get that. I say, okay, cool. Well, you're not in the system, right? That's by design because you're here illegally. Here's the line. Go stand there. And when you go through that line and pay the I'm a citizenship fee and take the test to become a citizen, now you can sit back in front of me after you've given me the documents and now you can vote. But the voting comes after following the procedure to be a blessed person into this country.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, probably not numerous, maybe 40 million people are part of that clan, and they shouldn't be voting until they come up to the requirements of being having the sacred responsibility of voting in this country.
Yeah. Fred Schuster, good people at Youngstown Computer.
Yeah, Fred
Hey,
just used our services, took care of them.
I scheduled him.
Good thing, Fred Schuster. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'd rather be uninformed, do it themselves. They'd rather be uninformed, do it themselves than...
I'd rather the uninformed do it themselves than a demonic weirdo harvest the ballots and do their own bidding with them.
They want more fraud to make the elections fair and accessible. How do you feel about mail-in votes? As long as it doesn't scale. Mail-in voting does not scale. If it is the exception where you truly can't get to the polling locations or you're overseas and you're a qualified voter, then it goes into a stack and it's just treated differently than poll voting. Somebody goes through it, they qualify you, make sure you're there, and they count you later. It never enters into the real vote because it should be such a minority exception that it doesn't skew any of the results anyway, and it only comes into play if it's a close contested deal. So if your district is within a margin of 100 and you have a stack of 500 mail-in votes, then you go to your mail-in votes, you put them through a very strict lens, right? Because there's more fraud that can happen with mail-in votes than in poll.
And you could probably, like you said, it should be such a small grouping that they go ahead. You have to mail it in. Now I have so many mail-ins that I'm going to now investigate. I'll go make sure you are you. End of story. Why not? Doesn't mean that they don't have to be investigated or just trust that the mail-in is...
part of the process, the muling that happened during the 2020 election that I'm fearful of, is we had voter rolls that had a lot of idle voters, right? So I can look and see if you're a voter and when's the last time you voted and who you voted for, right? And if I took somebody like, we'll say Nancy Smith, she hasn't voted in like 10 years. Well, her vote as a qualified voter is very valuable to me. Either I go to Nancy's house and say, look, I know you haven't voted. We like you. We want to really... I got this mail-in vote right here. Now, Nancy, under natural circumstances, would have not voted in this election. But I canvassed Nancy. I convinced Nancy to cast a vote. She signed it. She checked the box. And now I basically made Nancy vote for who I wanted her to vote. So that's in the best case scenario. I take the mail-in vote. I deposit it in the box. Now Nancy became a voter inspired by me as the canvasser. Now you have these voting rolls who I'm not even going to ask Nancy who she wants to vote for. I'm just going to use Nancy's idle vote, and I'm going to take a person that doesn't even have to prove who they are. They walk up to an election. They vote as Nancy. They don't check an ID. You sign a signature form that doesn't even match Nancy's, and now Nancy voted, and she didn't even show up.
Unbeknownst to Nancy.
100% fraudulent.
Yeah.
So the muling was a majority. Muling and canvassing those votes were a majority of the mailing vote. I don't believe in that. If you don't feel like you can't even leave your house and you would have been completely apathetic in that election, and the only reason that your vote counted was because I came to you and for whatever means, however I did it, got you to vote for who I wanted you to vote for, that's scammy as could be.
Isn't there a rule at voting polls you can't have literature and things? Within so much.
Politicking is illegal, but I go to the polls all the time. Nobody follows
Still
those
happens.
rules. Yeah. But there is a rule that nobody can drop off bulk mail-in votes, right? You can't take a satchel of 100 votes that you canvass the neighborhood. It was made so that if you went to Nancy and you're their neighbor and helped her with her mail-in, you could take the single Nancy vote, put it in the mail-in voting, no harm, no foul, because you just assisted. But these canvassers are harvesting thousands of these votes and dropping them off in bulk. Now, I tell the Republicans, if the Democrats are doing it, you just go do it too. Like, if we're going to get scammy, at least make it to an absurd level so that everybody's like, time out. This is just not how our elections are supposed to work. Harvesting should not be part of our practice. But they are, and you couple that with the fraudulent unqualified people who vote instead of those people, right? Is true. So maybe 90% of them are harvested votes, 10% are just fraudulent. Somebody walks up and uses idle Nancy's vote on their behalf, and nobody cares or checks to see how it works. And that's why I say it fails on large scale. Small scale, it works, and it should be the exception. It never works if 50% of your voting or 25% of your voting comes in with mail-in, because it's just wrought with fraud.
Mm. If they fix the fraud, they enable, they can't campaign and fundraise to fix it when they're in office.
Yeah, it'll be perpetual. 20 years from now, we'll be talking about fraudulent elections because there's no real incentive to fix elections in the way that I'm prescribing that we fix them. Blockchain, biometrics, proving you are the you in your right to vote.
When you talk about the biometrics,
yes,
is it giving the government a copy of your Prince, iris, whatever?
Nope.
Where is that held then? Like, is there any...
So blockchain holds a value. Let's just say your number is 0001, right? You have a locker at the skate connection, right? You're going roller skating. It's your locker. And you've got important things that are in your locker. And you want to make sure that you're walking up to your locker to deposit it in there. You want to make sure the next person can't fake being you. So you put in a 4-digit code that then your locker is 0001. You know it. That's your number. You are 001. And because you created the locker when you put your coins in there, you then set up a second factor to make sure the next person who walks up to 0001 is not you. It's proving you are you. So if they took social security numbers starting from 00001 to 99999 and put it in a database of the blockchain, right? Every different version of a social security number is represented in the blockchain. There will be ones that are claimed and ones that are unclaimed. When I walk up to my social security number and I claim it out of the blockchain, I am putting factors in there that nobody that walks up to my number can ever use that number if I don't put in the other factors that unlock that number. So the government only knows my social. It can't do anything unless I'm there. So if I go to vote, right, that's you locking up to your locker. I go to vote. And I can't use my social security number unless I've supplied enough of those factors to unlock my number and be a voter.
And that's harder to, I guess, hack, access. Like, nobody could access any information of yours that could be used.
There would be no information. If social security number is a determining factor and that is your number that corresponds to your identity as a person, right? Then you set the factors that unlock how qualified the you person. So at the locker, you put a 4-digit number. And you're going to say, well, how secure is that? Well, a person with enough time, if they want to try 0001, 0002, well, with enough time, I can figure out your 4-digit number. But what if you're like a 4-digit number and my thumbprint, right?
Yeah.
Now you've complicated probability-wise that nobody would try to unlock your identity because I'm going to pick somebody who picked a 1-digit number because it's way easier. And then so the more factors you add on to unlock your identity, you can couple that with voting and gun registration and your bank account. Now nobody would waste the time, right, coming after your identity that has a exponent that's higher than 100 in order to unlock. I would pick somebody who is just not bothered to do any of that.
What if you die and your family needs to access your stuff?
Does not happen. With blockchain, if you have something that only you can unlock, nobody can unlock it. It is when you die, it dies with you.
Like where does it go?
It's a new problem, new discussion.
Oh.
Would you rather have things that people can take or something that nobody could take? If you do the nobody can take, the cost of nobody can take is even you want people to take, can't take.
Yeah.
You know, like, hey, I'm leaving this for my friend. Can you have them pick it up? Would be great and convenient. But what if when they go to pick it up, they can't prove who they are, and the only people who can supply picking it up is information you have? They don't pick it up. That's the cost of being secure.
As long as it doesn't go on to, like, aren't there debts and things where if somebody dies, that debt can be transferred to like a next of kin?
Right, and so like in this world, you would have to have another one of those identities that would roll over to, right? And so it would have to be accepted on both rounds. So you're basically saying, hey, I have $100 in my skate center locker, right?
Yeah.
If something happens to me, I want it to roll over to locker 0002 and they become the default owner. Now, you said you want that to happen, but then 002 comes up on the display. It says, hey, locker 001 has an asset of $100. Do you want to accept? And once they hit yes, when the if-then statement, you die, possession of locker 001 now gets taken over by locker 002, and now they have possession of it. Now, if you have nothing but debt in there, you have your credit card statements, and you say, hey, I want it to be the problem of somebody else, then locker 002 would say, would you like to assume Kelin's debt? And they hit no, then that debt dies with you when your identity goes by. And that would just have to be factored in debt issuance and financial, pushing that forward to the next generation.
Yeah, because it was, I'll admit, a few years ago, we had a close family member die, and I had to make a few phone calls to get things shut off, taken out of their name, all these different things. And while it was convenient for me to not have to go through a lot of rigmarole to do something that you don't really want to be doing, I was taken aback a bit by how easy it was. Mm-hmm. Like, in a lot of instances, I had zero proof. Zero. I'm telling you, this person passed away. We got to shut this down. And they said, okay. I was like, wow.
Yeah, blockchain doesn't care. So I'll tell you about this. This will kind of break your heart a little bit.
Oh, no.
So in early 2000s, I started doing Bitcoin, right? Yeah. I have a flash drive that has 1.2 Bitcoin on it.
And I don't know what that is. Is that a lot?
1.2 Bitcoin. This at the time is probably worth about $18 when I put it on this little drive. And it was test. It was early on. Bitcoins were easy to get to. Well, that drive was the only drive that had the unlock key for that Bitcoin. I still have that flash drive. It corrupted, which means that my key that's on that drive is done. Bitcoin now is worth about $88,000 per coin. So that flash drive is worth about 120,000 Bitcoin. If it existed today and I can unlock it today and I can get the value off it today, it would be 120,000. So I keep that Bitcoin knowing that cryptocurrency and the ledger that is blockchain protects you, that even me being the person who put it there can't get to it because I can't override the secret keys that are actually on that device.
There's nothing you can do?
Nothing I can do.
Oh, God.
I can put it in a drive.
See, I want a backup plan for things.
I can put
I want a backup plan.
Today I have a couple of different, ways of unlocking it. But early in Bitcoin, we didn't know all of the magic things that you can do to preserve and protect. Each one of them being different metrics that are hard to get for other people. They're only exclusive to you. But early on, it was you had a secret key. If you didn't have the secret key, dead. There were people who threw away hard drives that had millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin on it. And they're rooting through landfills trying to find these hard drives, thinking that somehow they're going to get those things back. So anyway, I have that thing. I plug it into a hard drive. It says it's corrupt data. I can see there's some files on there, and I can't do anything with it because it's a dead drive. Failure on my part. I own that $120,000 mistake, but still, it's a reminder how secure Bitcoin blockchain really is.
Oh, man.
120,000 sitting right there.
And so where will it go? Nowhere, ever.
It'll just be dead money. It'll be just part of the overall ledger that will never be claimed, never be transferred. It'll just always exist there for all time.
And it's really nothing.
It's dead money. Literally dead money.
That is sickening.
Yeah.
Did you see Randy Fine voting for reps that were not in Congress at the time? He blames Dems for wanting to cheat.
Did you see that?
No. I don't know who Randy Fine is.
So it was in the state legislature.
Yeah.
And the way they vote is they have these little kiosks in the front. And when they vote on a bill, they take their identifying card and they put it in a slot. And they're like 4 little buttons. And you hit yay, nay, present, or something else. There's 4 buttons. And he was captured on video going up to these kiosks and voting by proxy for other people. So he would put their card in, vote for them. He had 4 machines going, putting a card in, voting, putting a card in and voting, right? And so that's emblematic of what the Democrats do with canvassing votings, where they're capturing someone else's vote. They need it. Those people won't do the things that were required for voting, and they'll hit their buttons on their behalf.
How did he have their ID cards?
Probably gave it to them and saying, I can't be there. I'm going to be in Maui.
Well, that was my question is, did he do that on their behalf and they knew it and they asked him to, or did he steal
But you're not allowed.
something?
Part of the rules is that you can't do proxy voting. The
Yeah.
person has to be in person and vote for themselves to be a counted vote.
So then technically, he and the person who gave it to him are wrong.
Yeah, that would be synonymous with you giving your locker password out to someone else when the rules stipulate that it's so important that this identity is yours. So voting in Congress is a card that you can hand to somebody else and do their voting. Not entirely secure.
And what happened? What was the repercussion of this?
Nothing. He got
Of
nothing.
course not.
No. And it was a long time ago, but it's a great
not.
example of how following the rules, if the means, equal the ends, it's worthwhile cheating to get enough votes for that to pass.
And there are no consequences.
No consequences.
You haven't tried disc drill?
No,
What's
I've
that?
not. What is disc drill?
Oh, does Emmanuel know something? Can you get this
Can you
Bitcoin
get my
money?
$100,000 out, please?
There could be something in it for you, Emmanuel.
I'll give you $25K easy.
You heard it here.
And I also have another one that I lost a bunch of Bitcoin on too. Early on, there was a USB key, and it was called something like, I don't know, Vault or something like that. And it was supposed to be, it would not only put your secure keys on it, but it would encrypt it, right? So that when you plugged it in, not only were you carrying it, if you lost your USB key and somebody else found it, it would encrypt it so they couldn't read it off of you. Well, I plugged mine in, and the early data, the encryption, the outermost encryption corrupted, which then corrupted the inner encryption. So that one has some Bitcoin on it too that failed because of early technologies that didn't quite work out.
Have you yet watched any of The Beast in Me on Netflix? We had talked a little bit about, I binged it one weekend. In the show, the this person uses like a literal like underground back alley building hacker person to get some information off a drive or something. Would you know how to do stuff like that?
Hacker stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Are there like a lot of just like these secret people that will go and you pay money to do all kinds of like...
If you only knew how susceptible every single person was to hacking, like there isn't a product that I don't touch that I could own with everyone and anyone. And it wouldn't take manipulations. These are just vulnerabilities that are constantly exist and constantly exploitable.
I mean, really, it's like everything, and we don't even realize. And I remember when my husband was active duty, anytime we had like briefings and stuff, when they were going to deploy, the wives had to do a brief and a debrief when they were coming back and whatnot. We were always told, do not ever post anything on social media about him being gone, when he's coming back, where he's going, like anything. Don't talk about it, period. And then not a lot of people followed this, but my husband and some others would be like, don't even post pictures of me in uniform. I want nothing, no information about me whatsoever on your social media. And I used to be like, come on, it's my Facebook page. It's private. Who cares? I see other girls doing it. What's the big deal? And then he was like, do you have any idea how many houses I went into and American Facebook pages were pulled up on their computer and they were getting information from everyday people on Facebook about all kinds of stuff.
And that is insecure things, but even the things that are secure, there might only be a couple thousand people on this planet that can do what I do to get to the stuff that I shouldn't have access to. And so most security is an actual illusion, right? It keeps 99% of the people from being able to get there. But if you want to get there, you're going to get there. It's almost like deadbolt on a house, right? You really know what you're doing. And the deadbolt isn't really anything. Only a little obstacle that takes you a little bit longer to be able to get through.
Yeah.
But it keeps 99% of the people from opening your door, right? That's seriously how tech products are. Even with AI, like all this back-end stuff I'm doing with AI, all these tie-ins with services that are just like giving a gateway to hit data directly. And like I said, there's only a handful of people who can do it in the first place. I never expect you to go on the back end of Facebook and be able to harvest data. But if they offer me a key to be able to get at that level that bypasses all of the two factors and the password givings, like how many other people that are bad people that have that same access, and when you type in your super sophisticated password thinking that Facebook or Google or whatever is secure enough, they're keeping people like me out. Like it's an illusion, I assure you.
Scary.
Yeah. The things I could do if I were a bad person. Yeah.
Yikes.
I'm telling you.
Aren't we all happy Joe Danier's on our side and not against us?
White hat, definitely.
Oh, you know the government's hacking in right now listening to you. Like what, Joe Danier? Like what? Creepy.
I have a strategy on that, by the way. I know they probably are.
What if they came to you and said,
it's not came to you, right? They have systems that are constantly polling resources in the blind to see what it can get access to. And these are nefarious. These are terrorists and enemies of the United States, whatever, constantly doing it. And also government agencies, because they're looking to do Epstein-like things, grab somebody, take stuff that's, that they'd be embarrassed of, use it as leverage and blackmail individual citizens to have, command over them.
All the more reason I don't want any dark entities having like my thumbprint scanner, iris scanner, anything that like
unless
you could
it is you versus you. If they don't have it, if it's a you versus you, right, then it doesn't matter. They don't have your thumbprint. They don't have your...
They kidnap you, and they knock you out, they get your thumbprint, they let you go.
Yeah, I'd cut off your finger and use your thumbprint all day. There's ways around it. Like I said, it's just a deadbolt. It only takes a majority of people and keeps them out.
Not cut off the finger. Maybe just knock them out a little bit.
But that's why you
does
do
this
more
smell
than
like
one factor.
chloroform?
See, if you did your thumb and you did your iris, and then I'd have to cut your thumb off and plunge your eyeball out, right?
God.
And then if you did, where you grew up, what the street you grew up on, now I'd have to know a little bit about you. And if you're like, what was your first pet? Now it's even harder.
What's your mother's maiden name?
Right. And then so the more of those things, the more people you eliminate from getting a single factor, right?
Yeah.
I have to recite 10 things I know about you. Maybe I only have 5, which keeps me out of your business. On the outermost secure channel, once you're in, then people like me can operate, and none of that thing apply. No, none of those things apply.
Yeah, back a couple weeks ago when everybody was doing those like Facebook caricatures, and everyone's like, it's just getting a whole bunch of data about you. I was like,
not your biggest concern.
Cat's out of the bag. They have my data.
My neighbor is really security involved. I mean, he is at the top edge, leading edge of evaluating security for networks, high-end stuff like big corporate, big government, and whatever. And so I get kind of eyeballs in on what they're considering, like who's assailing, what their motives are, what the strategies are. And it's ever evolving. So once you hear what you should or shouldn't do on Facebook, it's already too late. They've bailed on that strategy. They're hitting people before that's known, and then they change strategies like shortly after. So by the time you hear that, that's dead. Like, not even considering it anymore.
Do you and your neighbor have like some sort of secret hideaway fake door in the house, and you go in there and you have this computer set up and you guys do like secret technical stuff?
So we have tunnels underneath our houses. And I had his kid convinced of this, that we had tunnels that go under into a secret room where it's the shit hit the fan room, and also where we conspire.
Like a safe room?
Yeah, safe room.
Yeah.
And that's where we're going to survive out of that room.
Like, you know the movie, not Meet the Fockers, but Meet the Parents. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Where, like, Ben Stiller's father-in-law is, he finds his secret CIA, room down in this little hole or whatever. Like, do you have one of those? Where you, like, open up a thing in the floor?
Do you think it would be a good idea to talk about my secret room publicly? Do you think that would be a good idea?
So you'll never find it.
Yeah, so my secret trove in case of apocalypse is I have this one cabinet labeled Stuff to Survive, and all of the medicines and survival materials are in there. Don't come into my house and rob that.
Labeled.
Labeled with a little label that says, "Don't touch this. This is secret."
Yep. And maybe there's like multiple like written documents that show everything and how to use it.
Where my guns are, like really tell them.
You probably have like an email chain between you and your other secret people that anybody could find.
Yeah. A good strategy right now is poisoning the well. Let me tell you about poisoning the well.
Poisoning the well.
Poisoning the well.
Okay.
So let me give you one example of poisoning the well. And this is sort of like one of the methods that I use to see leaks. Right. So let's just say you were in the White House and you were the president, and you had 1,000 employees that some of them you knew were your allies, and some of them were just people that were there.
Like we got a rat.
We got a rat. Right? Somebody's
got a
leaking.
rat in the department.
You want to know who the leaker was.
Yeah.
And you know that people are telling other people stuff. So what I did was when I knew that someone was leaking, I would basically encode data that was specifically given to one person. So if that data ever maneuvered around, I can look at that code and know who leaked it because everybody got a different
code. Like when
code.
you tell somebody a secret and I only told that person.
Exactly.
So
but
if they
there's
know, then
thousands of them, there would be a portion that I told them that was very specific to them. So if it ever leaked out, I would know it was specifically for them. So now in the security realm, if you know that your enemies and your government are collecting data on you, you don't necessarily need to know that they're doing it. You just want to make sure that they're collecting data that they think is true, but you're putting fake information into their well, so they collect things that are terrible and awful and not true, along with things that might be true. And that way, when they release the trove on you, you can say that these salacious things were just part of the psyops that you were pulling on them. Like go on Facebook today and say, in a private message to another account that you create, something that is totally outlandish and untrue. So when they collect that out, it will be in the log of not like 100 things and they were all legitimate. There might be 50 things in there that were completely, the defense attorney is going to take aim at him and say, this was all satire. She wasn't serious.
Yeah.
She was just poison the well.
So do you think we, the American people, have ever been upset or outraged by or bought into or believe something that happened that we're all talking about and it's just this big deal and it's not even true,
Correct.
But it was planted by the administration themselves.
Planted
whichever side.
planted by an enemy of that information, and then disseminated by people who have an orthodoxy and almost a religious view on then parroting it.
Or like an administration, whether it's Republican, Democrat, whatever, whoever's in power at the time, allow some information to get out there, knowing it makes them look bad. It's not true. It's going to cause some outrage, but it's not true, which is how they're getting away with it. And everyone's like, how are they getting away with this? Because it's not true, but you're all talking about it.
But it doesn't matter.
But then you can see, how did it get out, though?
But it doesn't matter. Let's just say Trump does a speech and he says, these deals were the best deals that were ever made. No other deal was as amazing like this deal. So not bad, right? But if you look at deals that were made, it's not even in like the top 10. But what if you had people who really like Trump, and then they got on their shows and podcasts and said, hey, these deals were the best deals that were ever made. And through the game of telephone, now those deals become the best deals that were ever made. Not untruthful, right? But propagated because somebody took the baton, cast it forward, and it was repeated enough times. Like there was going to be somebody who said, hey, it'd be really good if Trump was a racist and a Nazi. And then it propagated down and said, Trump's a racist and a Nazi. And they were repeated so many times down the road that now it's just known as Trump's a Nazi and a racist. And when someone objective like you and I were like, okay, I heard something, let me see if it's true. Now, was it the best deal? I'm going to list the last 100 deals that were done internationally. I'm going to take what the best means, a subjective posting, but let's give it some metrics to find out what the best was. Economic impact, best net gain, most people affected, whatever. I'm going to add my metrics, and I see it's not in the top 10. I'm going to say, not a real piece of information. Nobody parroted it. So it died when the person said it, and it ended up being not true. But as long as do you hold the parrots more responsible, something they wanted to believe and just decided to keep reciting until it became cultural fact, until you and I say, okay, is he a Nazi? If he's a Nazi, what is a Nazi? What are the measurements? How do I figure out if someone's a Nazi? Is someone a racist? What metrics go into making someone a racist? Seeing that he's not a Nazi and he's not a racist, right? I know this to be true. Now I have to say he is not a racist or Nazi. Notice there will be far less people that will take the merited, the metric-based truth and parrot it, because it'll die the first time I say it.
Yeah, if anything, it'll be like, well, you must be too if you're sticking up for him.
That's exactly right.
Instead of, oh, I wonder why you would think that.
Right.
What are you saying?
Pay attention to what gets parroted, because all it is if you believe it and want to believe it. Like, do you want Trump to be in the Epstein files? Then the people that are behind the scenes will say, if I say this thing, I've got 1 million people that will pick up that baton and throw it so far. I will be disconnected from it. Me saying it first won't even matter, because 1 million people will have said it after I do. So you say, Trump is in the Epstein files, and you watch it propagate out to all the poisoned nodes that repeat it, and now it doesn't matter who started it, right? And objective people can say, is he in the Epstein files? 1% yes, 90% no. Would have been a fail as far as I'm concerned based on today's knowledge. But that's how culture works at this point. It's a game of telephone.
It is.
It has nodes of parroting, and it's happening in every direction.
BJ says we got 5 minutes.
Okay, I'm out of breath.
Game of telephone. That's a good one. That's really what we're living in nowadays.
Yeah.
Hey, I heard this. And then it's like, oh, did you hear this? Oh, I heard this. And it's like, wait. No. You guys are talking about something totally different. That didn't happen, but they heard it from someone who heard it from someone who heard it from someone. And does anybody actually look into it? No, not really.
You know who told you this would happen? This guy.
Who has 2 thumbs and told you this would happen? This guy.
So, you make information accessible to all people, even the dumb ones, right? And I would say, hey guys, before we just, we got all this, we got Alexandria, and we got the monks' sanctuaries with all of the scrolls and all of the books. If we just give this stuff to the regular people, they're going to be so stupid with it. There's some people going to be helped, and they're going to get into physics and history and going to know stuff. But the majority, if we give access to all those people, they're just going to make a mess with it. They're going to use it. They're going to take 1% of it because they don't understand it anyway. They're just going to make a mess of it. So now we take the information age where everything's accessible to everyone. And so the dumb people pick up the 1%ers and they put it in their quiver like they've got a real weapon. And then they use it in the dumb way that they know how to use it. And then that's what culture becomes. A bunch of dumb people wielding incomplete information without any forethought and any insights and no enlightenment and no wisdom. And they're shooting those arrows everywhere. You need to eliminate normies from having access to information. Keep them out of lever and decision-making processes. I know it felt good. I know it felt like everybody, they would just do great things with information, great things with weapons, but dumb people with a grenade are going to do exactly what you'd expect them to do with it.
Yeah. Why I say that old saying that those who know better do better. Not so much the case. Not so much. You can know
we
a lot.
talked about poor people, like just if we would give them money that they would stop being poor people, right? And that's not the case. It feels like that would be the case.
Like in 2020, when a bunch of people were given free money and then blew it.
Yeah.
Put themselves in a worse situation than they were before they were given the money.
So I want you to take all of your womenkind, all women in the United States. You are now responsible, right?
No.
And what I want you to do is a bunch of them got married and changed their name. I want you to teach all of them, right, to change their name so that they can vote.
Oh,
I want you to
man.
say, did you change your name on your birth certificate and driver's license and credit cards and all that?
Do you change your birth certificate?
Yes.
Okay. Whatever I changed, I went to the
Update,
DMV
I imagine. Well, maybe not. I don't know.
I don't think you change it on your birth certificate.
But your birth certificate wouldn't say you'll be given your given name rather than your married name. Would you not update it on your birth certificate? If you use that as a way of
I don't remember.
proving.
Do I?
Okay, maybe you take your birth certificate and your marriage certificate
Yes.
and take them together.
Yes.
So, I was
Then
born this
your
way,
Social
and I
Security
became
changes,
this
your
way,
ID.
and here's me.
That's
so
exactly
what I
to
want
do.
What I want you to do is I want you to teach all women, 50% of the public. You have 90 million people that you have to train that got married, and I want you to check them off the list. The ones that say, I know it and did it, right? And the ones that are like, huh? All the who's. I want you to then teach how to be able to vote if you, one, have a birth certificate and changed your name. Okay? It's on you.
But don't you think there's a handful of people that do it and still want to complain that we shouldn't?
I don't care about complainers. No, this is a unidirectional training. You're going to tell them without them being able to say anything in return. You're going to tune them out, lower their volume so that you say the thing. You can say, what's your name? And were you married? And do you have a birth certificate? And do you have a marriage certificate? Now I want you to re-register under your married name, but so that when you go there with your license that say your married name, that you will be able to vote because what the register says and what you have are the same thing. That is your,
Yeah.
I want you to go out into the world and change the world.
Julie says, Joe, do you believe anything? What is your criteria for belief?
But there's nothing that ever goes into the foundation of belief. It's all remeasurable. As some new information comes out, you prod the thing you knew, and you then either still believe it or it's changed. So there's this isn't like religion, right? If I believe in time travel or I believe in quantum physics, right? There's stuff that we're going to know 20 years from now that we're going to know more than we do today. So I have a belief in what I know right now, but it would be a better belief in the future when there's more information. So it's malleable, it's always changing, and there isn't something that's just known.
You can have considerations.
Yes.
But do you really believe? Not yet.
No. Belief as in it's an ongoing thing, yes. Belief as in it's been figured out and now we have consensus, never.
Yeah.
Never. Curiosities demand I do better. So there you go. I think that's it, right? All right, let's get out of here.